What's up, everyone? Today's video, we are talking about something that scares the hell out of our war planners more than any hypersonic missile or aircraft carrier. Not a nuke, not a drone swarm, not even a cyber attack. It's how Chinese Aerospace just completed a spacecraft swap rescue mission in just 20 days, something that humanity has never, ever done before in all of history. This is not a sci-fi movie. This actually happened 400 kilometers above our heads, right over us, in real orbit. I'm going to break down 3 core ugly truths for you today. First, how a 1mm piece of space garbage can instantly kill a multi-hundred-billion-dollar mission. Second, what kind of space warfare sleeper cell did Beijing just reveal with this emergency launch? Third, how this single event completely rewrites the rulebook for future space combat, and why our satellites might already be obsolete. Watch this whole video and you'll finally get it. Speed is the ultimate weapon in space. I don't care how many satellites we have, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. None of it matters if the other guy can move faster than us. Let's get into it. October 5th, 2025. 400 kilometers up, that's about 250 miles. The Chinese space station, Tiangong, the Shenzhou 20 astronaut crew, is getting ready to come back to Earth the next day. Everything looks fine, right? Routine, standard, boring. Then, during a routine check of the return capsule, they find something that makes everyone's blood run cold, a crack. On the edge of a window, it's tiny, but it is deadly. Ground experts ran supercomputer simulations, the kind we use for nuclear weapons modeling, and they confirmed it. This is a through crack. It goes all the way through the outer heat shield window. The most likely cause, a hit from a piece of space debris, smaller than 1 centimeter. Now, you and I might look at that and say, it's just a scratch. But guys, do not laugh at a sub 1mm fragment. In orbit, that little piece of junk is traveling at several kilometers per second. Let me put that in American terms. That's tens of thousands of kilometers per hour, which is tens of thousands of miles per hour, the impact force. It hits like a goddamn rifle bullet if they tried to re-enter Earth's atmosphere with that crack. The heat shield would fail over 1,000 degrees Celsius. That's over 1,800 degrees Fahrenheit, would shoot straight inside the capsule. I don't even want to picture what happens to the human body in that situation. You would be sitting in an oven, a flying, screaming metal oven. Ground control didn't hesitate for 1 second. They held emergency meetings all night. And they made a gutsy, unprecedented, ballsy call to delay Shenzhou 20's return. The crew is coming home on Shenzhou 21 instead. In a crisis, a bold, fast decision beats a perfect plan every single time. You know that. I know that. Now, here's where China's smart play comes in. Shenzhou 21 was already docked to the space station as the backup ship. And this is their system. They operate on what they call Fly One. Have one ready. It's a rolling backup strategy for every cruise ship they launch into orbit. They have another ship either on the ground or already docked, sitting in a state of readiness, waiting for a rescue mission. That's not an accident. That's deliberate military-grade redundancy. So on October 14th, 2025, just 9 days after the crack was found, Shenzhou 21 undocks with the original crew on board. They come back to Earth. They land safely at the Dongfeng landing site. The crew is safe. Mission accomplished, right? But now, new problem, a big one. The space station has no escape ship. Think about that for a second. If another debris hit happens tomorrow, if a life support system fails, if a fire breaks out, the astronauts still up there have no way home. Zero zilch. They are stranded. It's like living in a 30-story apartment building with no fire escape, no stairwell, no elevator, and someone just lit a match on the 2nd floor. Would you stay? Hell no. So now China has to do something no country has ever done before. Launch an emergency replacement ship while a crew is still in orbit without a lifeboat. And then they shock the world just 11 days later, November 25th, 2025, Shenzhou 22 launches from the Jiuquan Satellite Launch Center, their equivalent of our Cape Canaveral. No crew on board this time. It's an unmanned cargo and lifeboat mission. It launches, it reaches orbit, it performs a fast automated docking with the space station, and it brings 3 critical things. First, supplies, food, water, air filters, science gear. Second, a repair kit for that cracked window, a spacewalk patch job. And third, most importantly, a new lifeboat for the station. A fresh, undamaged return capsule that the crew can use to come home whenever they need to. So let's do the math. From crack discovery on November 5th to emergency docking on November 25th, 20 days, in just 20 days. Less than 3 weeks, China completed crisis assessment, non-stop computer simulations. A high-level political decision to change the return plan, the actual crew return on the backup ship. And then a full emergency launch of a replacement ship, that is a world record in human spaceflight. Something no one, not us, not Russia, not anyone has ever done before. Now let me stop here and talk about something that keeps me up at night. Everybody talks about Starlink, Elon Musk, tens of thousands of satellites. Americans love counting numbers, right? We love saying we have more than you, but in space combat, there is one metric that is 100 times more important than sheer quantity response time. Let me make this dead simple for you. You have 100 satellites, I have 10. But if I can replace one of mine in 24 hours after you blow it up, and it takes you 6 months to replace yours, who wins the war? I win every single time. The United States Space Force has been pushing what they call tactically responsive space for years. The early goal was to launch a replacement satellite in days or weeks. Their latest, most ambitious goal, by 2026, from order to launch in under 24 hours. Sounds great, right? Sounds impressive. But here's the problem. We have not actually done it in a real crisis. We've done tests, we've done demonstrations, we've done small-scale experiments. But when a real debris strike happens, when real human lives are on the line, we have never executed a 20-day emergency crew swap. China just did, and that's not a test. That's not a PowerPoint slide, that's a real combat-ready, operationally proven rapid response-based capability. Let me be brutally honest with you, quantity loses to quality, but speed cannot be replaced by numbers. You have 10,000 satellites. Great, if I can see every single one of them with my space-based tracking network, if I can calculate their orbits, predict their movements, and know exactly where they'll be in the next 30 minutes, then what good are they? You have 1,000,000 arrows, I have one gun, but if I can fire that gun before you can even draw your bow, I win. And here's the truly scary part. China's launch capacity is accelerating at a rate that should terrify our Pentagon. The Hainan Commercial Spaceport, China's first commercial spaceport, went live in November 2024. That's last year. Each medium liquid fuel launch pad at Hainan can handle 16 rockets per year. That's more than one per month. And that's just the current design, phase 2 of Hainan, 4 pads over 60 launches annually. And the really scary number, the single pad launch cycle could be compressed to 10 days, maybe even 1 week. Do you understand what that means for us? It means China won't just do 20-day emergency launches anymore. They'll do it in 10 days, then 5 days, then 24 hours. Picture a real-world conflict scenario, Taiwan Strait, South China Sea, pick your flashpoint. We take out one of their reconnaissance satellites, maybe with a missile, maybe with a directed energy weapon, maybe with one of our own satellites. 3 days later, 3 days. Beijing puts a brand new satellite in exactly the same orbit doing exactly the same job. How do you fight that war? You don't, you lose. Because you can't deplete an arsenal that regenerates faster than you can kill it. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Some armchair general is going to type in the comments. It's just swapping a ship. What's the big deal? NASA did similar things in the 90s. No, wrong, completely wrong. Changing crews is not like changing seats on an airplane. For 2 different spacecraft to dock seamlessly for astronauts to move from one ship to another without dying, every single interface has to be identical. We're talking about docking port diameter, sealing mechanisms, electrical connectors, propellant lines, communication protocols, life support hookups, thermal control interfaces. Everything has to match perfectly. It's like trying to plug an iPhone charging cable into an Android phone. They don't work together. They were never designed to. What China just proved is that their next generation cruise ships, Shenzhou 2021, 22, and probably beyond, are fully standardized, modular, and universal. In engineering terms, that's called plug and play. In military terms, that's called instant replacement and rapid fill-in. Now imagine a future space war scenario. One of our reconnaissance satellites gets taken out by a Chinese anti-satellite weapon. We're blind in that part of the sky, but China, they lose a satellite too. And within hours, they launch a backup from Hainan. The backup docks with their space station or another platform. And their eyes are back online before we can even file a damage report. That is more terrifying than any single weapon system, any aircraft carrier, any bomber, any missile, because your giant, expensive, beautiful aircraft carrier is useless if the enemy can't see it. But if their satellite dies and they replace it immediately, how do we compete? We don't. Now, let's talk about why this debris hit even happened in the first place, because the situation in low Earth orbit is absolutely insane. According to the European Space Agency's 2025 Space Environment Report, there are over 50,000 debris pieces larger than 10 centimeters. That's about 4 inches. Those are big enough to destroy a satellite on impact. There are about 1.2 million debris pieces between 1 centimeter and 10 centimeters. Those are big enough to disable a spacecraft or kill an astronaut on a spacewalk. and smaller fragments, less than 1 centimeter, like the one that hit Shenzhou 20. Hundreds of millions, they don't even bother tracking them all. Let me say that plainly. Earth orbit is a freaking garbage dump. We've been throwing trash up there for 70 years, and now it's coming back to bite everyone. And here's where China's already moving ahead of us. On November 26, 2025, the day after Shenzhou 22 docked, a Chinese company called Xinyuan announced their Space Situational Awareness Constellation Plan. 156 satellites, low Earth orbit, global coverage. Their job: to track and locate hundreds of thousands of debris objects in real time. With high precision, we have our own systems: the Space Fence Ground Radar and the GSAP space-based satellites. Those are good, but Xinyuan is pure space-based, no ground stations, no gaps over the ocean. Theoretically, it has better coverage density and faster reaction time than anything we have. And in space, what you can't see kills you. If China sees a debris cloud coming their way 3 hours before we do, they can move their station, they can dodge. We might not even know we're in danger until it's too late. Now let me take you back in history for a second. 1906, the HMS Dreadnought launches all big gun, steam turbine. Armor scheme that made every other battleship obsolete overnight. Overnight. Not 10 years, not 5 years, overnight. Every battleship on Earth became worthless the moment that ship hit the water. That's what a true technological leap looks like. We are at the exact same hinge point today, but in space. AI-assisted constellation management, autonomous docking, rapid damage assessment, self-healing networks. These are the space dreadnoughts. In 10 years, probably less, any space force without AI will be like a World War II destroyer trying to fight a modern stealth warship. You won't even see the enemy before they lock onto you and fire. At least on rapid response, at least on this one metric, China is now on the same starting line as the United States. And honestly, I have to be straight with you, in some ways, they are faster than us right now. If future war goes to orbit, and it will, response time decides who lives and who dies. 20 days is already shocking, but it won't stay at 20 days. It'll be 10 days, then 5, then 24 hours. So here's the real question, and I want you to sit with this. When China can launch an emergency space mission in 24 hours, when they can replace a killed satellite before we even finish our battle damage assessment, how does the global space power balance change? Because the answer is not in our favor. Now, let's zoom out, because this rescue wasn't just a technical achievement. It was a 3-part strategic declaration aimed directly at us. Most people only see the surface. Oh, they saved the crew. Nice job. But this was a textbook double win, national credibility and technical dominance rolled into one. In the space age, one perfect crisis response is worth 10 routine launches. 100 routine launches because the whole world is watching. Think about it. 3 astronauts, 210 days in orbit, almost 7 months, a debris strike that could have killed them. And they came home safe. That is a massive propaganda victory for Beijing, whether we like it or not. But behind the surface, 3 deeper national interests that we ignore at our own peril. 1, life first, system confidence. China scrapped their original return plan. They activated the backup ship without counting the cost. They didn't hesitate, and that sends a very clear signal: we protect our people in human spaceflight. Trust is the only currency that matters. When the world sees China put astronaut lives first, above schedule, above budget, above politics, more nations will want to partner with them. So let me ask you a tough question. You're the leader of Brazil or Pakistan or Indonesia. You want to send your first astronaut to space. Who do you trust more? The United States, which has lost 2 entire crews on the space shuttle with 14 astronauts dead, the last one just a few decades ago, or China, which has never lost a single astronaut in space? Not 1-0, numbers don't lie. That matters, that's soft power and we're losing it. 2, space insurance market power. Yes, that's a real thing. This is going to sound boring, but stay with me because it's important. Space launch is a high-risk, high-premium industry. Rocket explosions, satellite failures, astronaut life insurance, all of it is insured by a global market. Currently, China's commercial space insurance market is about $350 million US. That's the conversion from the original 35 billion new Taiwan dollars. It's still smaller than ours, but it's growing fast. And here's the key: China's perfect crisis response. The flawless execution of this 20-day rescue proves high reliability. That lowers insurance premiums for Chinese launches. And when premiums go down, customers choose the cheaper option. Over time, China gains pricing power in the global space insurance market. Trust is the foundation of commerce. No trust, no market. And China just bought a whole lot of trust for $350 million. 3, a new seat at the rules table. This is the big one. Right now, the United States leads the Artemis Accords. That's our coalition for space exploration and resource extraction. 54 countries have signed on. China has its own coalition, the International Lunar Research Station Framework. 17 countries and over 50 research institutions have signed up. That's smaller, but it's growing. And here's what Shenzhou 21 just proved to every undecided nation on Earth. We can protect our people in orbit, we can act fast in a crisis, and we don't need anyone's permission to do it on a negotiation table doing beats talking every single time. Strength is the basis of diplomacy. You cannot write the rules of space if you cannot even save your own astronauts when something goes wrong. We have the experience, we have the technology. But China just showed they have the operational speed. And in a crisis, speed is power. Now let's be real. I'm not a Chinese propaganda channel. I call it straight SpaceX's Falcon 9, about $3,000 per kilogram to low Earth orbit. That's incredibly cheap. China's Long March rockets. Between $6,000 and $10,000 per kilogram, that's 2 to 3 times more expensive. That's a real gap. We lead on cost. And this is a big but high-end commercial spaceport, and China's reusable rocket programs are closing that gap fast. They're not there yet, but they're moving. And here's another number. Of China's 92 launches in 2025, the commercial share hit 54%. That's over half. Their private space industry is growing faster than ours did at the same stage. Military spending, according to the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute, that's SIPRI 2023 data, China's defense budget about 1.7% of GDP India. 2.4%, United States 3.4%. We spend a much larger percentage of our economy on defense. That's fact. The US Space Force budget for 2025 is $28.7 billion. That's real money. That's more than most countries' entire defense budgets. China does not disclose its space military budget, but you can see it in the launch frequency and the infrastructure spending, 92 launches in 1 year. A new commercial spaceport, 156 satellite constellation for debris tracking. They are spending heavily 92 launches for China in 2025. The United States, 205 launches. So we still lead in total volume about 45% more, but in technology races, incremental speed matters more than existing inventory. We have more satellites today. But if they can replace theirs faster than we can replace ours, they win the long game. Let me take you back to 1982, the Falklands War. Britain sends a massive naval task force, dozens of ships, hundreds of aircraft, thousands of troops, 8,000 miles from home. Why? Because sovereignty matters, because territory matters, because if you don't defend your people, you're not a real nation. Now, apply that to space. What does sovereignty mean for China's space station? It means they independently decide their orbital altitude, their debris avoidance maneuvers, their crew rotation schedule, their emergency procedures. It means that when Shenzhou 21 landed at the Dongfeng landing site in Inner Mongolia in the middle of the night, they didn't ask for permission, not from us, not from Russia, not from the UN, not from anyone. And here's why this matters for Taiwan, since that's the elephant in the room. Because if China can act independently in space, if they can rescue their own astronauts, launch their own emergency missions, track their own debris, write their own rules, then they have demonstrated the same capability in the domain above Taiwan that they would need to project power below it. This is not a political statement. This is a military reality, from damage assessment to crew swap to emergency launch to safe return, all in 20 days. All inside China, all with Chinese rockets, Chinese spacecraft, Chinese astronauts, Chinese ground control. That independent system was forged by 30 years of isolation. After we kicked them out of the International Space Station in 2011, the Wolf Amendment, they had to build their own, and they did. No independent industrial base, no real sovereignty. That's true for any country, including ours. When you control your own access to space, when you can launch, dock, rescue, and return without anyone's help, is space still a global commons? Or is it becoming someone's sphere of influence? Harsh truth, it used to be our backyard. The moon, low Earth orbit, geostationary orbit, we dominated all of it for decades. Now China is standing up and saying, I get a piece too, and am not asking for permission. That window crack, just a few millimeters long, thinner than a fingernail, shines a light on the future. And the future is not comfortable. Shenzhou 21's story is not over. That crack is not an ending, it is the start of a new era. Two major trends are accelerating right now, and we need to pay attention. One, space debris will force global rules, or else. There are 140 million fragments of junk circling Earth right now. 140 million, most of them too small to track. Any one of them could hit a crewed spacecraft at any time one day. Maybe soon a collision will happen that kills someone or destroys a critical military satellite during a crisis. And that event will be the Space 9/11. the moment that forces every nation to sit down and answer three questions. Who pays for the damage? Who cleans up the mess? Who is legally responsible right now? No answers, no rules, no order. And no order in space means chaos. And chaos means conflict. 2. The US-China tech paths are on a collision course. SpaceX and Starlink quantity, tens of thousands of satellites. Swarm tactics. Overwhelming numbers. China's space station and their new constellation, systemic resilience. Fewer satellites but faster replacement. Speed is a survival mechanism. One uses scale for safety. The other uses speed for survival. The real showdown between these two models will not happen in a computer simulation. It won't happen in a Pentagon war game. It will happen during an actual orbital crisis, a debris strike, a failed docking, a sudden deorbit, an anti-satellite weapon test. And when that crisis comes, the nation that can react faster will win. That debris crack on Shenzhou 20's window. It's not a scar, it's a badge, it's China's badge of growth. They are not knocking on the door of space superpower status anymore. They are already in orbit, and their voice must be heard whether we like it or not. Let me leave you with this one crack in a window. And behind it, 3 firsts in human spaceflight. First, the first time a cruise ship was delayed from returning because of a space debris impact. First, the first time astronauts had to swap ships in orbit, ride someone else's ride home. First. The first time an emergency cruise ship was launched and docked to replace a damaged lifeboat. And behind those 3 firsts, a reshaping of global space power. Final take. And I want you to remember this. The 20-day space rescue proves that China now has the rapid response capability that will decide the outcome of future space warfare. This was not just a technical win. It was a 3-part national strategy declaration aimed directly at us, at our allies, and at every undecided nation on Earth. Space debris and the US-China technology rivalry will define the next 10 years of space, not climate treaties, not feel-good international cooperation speeches. Debris and competition. Space has never been peaceful. It has always been a military domain. The difference is that now there are 2 superpowers up there, not 1. And the real question is just surfacing, the question no one in Washington wants to answer out loud. When life first meets orbital crowding, when independent sovereignty meets the need for global traffic rules, who gets to write the next chapter of space law, we might find out the second the next emergency alarm goes off, the next debris strike, the next near miss, the next cracked window. If you understand what's at stake, if you see the power play behind the headlines, then drop a comment, tell me I'm wrong, tell me I'm right. I don't care, just think about it. And if you want to see the real power plays behind the headlines, the ones the mainstream media won't touch, then subscribe, hit the bell, because I'm not done talking about this. I'll see you in the next one.